Welcome, everybody, to the Builder Origin Stories by Agent AI. And today I have a good friend, a longtime friend of mine, Tim Macchi, joining me on the show today. Tim, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Kyle. Yeah, it's a pleasure to speak to you again.
Yeah, man. Always good when I get to spend some time catching up with you. Is I always like to start these things, and people that listen regularly know I'm a big comic book fan. I love origin stories. I know a lot of your origin story, kind of your time when you and I were together, 15 years ago at HubSpot. You were in sales, but your journey kind of brought you into product and now like AI builder. Um, tell kind of people like how that evolution kind of happened and kind of how you've learned from it. And I think that'll kind of lead us into some of the other stuff here.
Yeah. So it's been a long, strange journey for sure. Yeah, I got into sales right out of college, actually, and it was actually because I I wanted to run my own business someday, and I knew that sales was important to that, and I actually felt it was like my biggest weakness in the mix, actually. So I wasn't a natural salesperson, and you might have picked that up working with me at HubSpot. I'm an introvert, and so but I think I'm really glad I started in sales because it helps with so many things, with talking to users and just getting people to open up, finding what the root issue is. But when I started in sales, I was able to be pretty successful at it, but it was because this kind of common theme that's been throughout all of my career, which is that like I'm kind of this inventor archetype. So um, I like to find new ways of doing things, being more efficient, things like that. It's actually hard for me to just follow a pattern. And in sales, they give you, when you start out, you got to follow this system, and I did that, and then I immediately start thinking of ways that I can make it better, I can improve it. And at HubSpot, that manifested in kind of doing this. You remember early on in HubSpot, we had this problem where we had so many, we call them VSB, very small businesses. That was a majority of our leads coming into HubSpot. And we just really had no efficient way. It wasn't really worth putting, a salesperson on, for the size of the deals that we could close. And so, along with, Ryan Beal, we innovated this one-to-many sales process. And so that was really fun for me. I really enjoyed kind of innovating. And then being at HubSpot, I think all of us get infected with the marketing bug. And I think regardless of the position that you work at HubSpot, you kind of leave with an MBA in marketing, right? Um, and I really gained a passion for marketing and growth at HubSpot. So that kind of was my transition to the marketing side. And then also loved kind of innovating in the marketing side. And finally, what I craved, talking to customers, the sales aspect of it. And I've always been passionate about product. I've always been very opinionated about product. And so it was kind of a natural transition to move into product management, which you've had kind of a similar
I have.
trajectory, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we share that in common. And I love the puzzle of it. I love, because I have that inventor archetype. So like, I love just kind of starting with this mystery, digging in, talking to customers, finding out like what is the pain, and then translating that into building products. So there's actually, even though the journey seems a little bit disjointed, there is actually like a common theme there, which is like solving problems, inventing, and just curiosity and like trying new things. And that's kind of what led me to dabbling with building agents in my free time as
Well,
well.
it's kind of funny too, because what I'm hearing you say is like you've got this kind of full stack individual, right? Like you've done sales, you've done marketing, you've done product, and now you're building products. As you know, I can relate to so much of that. I spent the last 6 months of my time full time at HubSpot in the sales funnel because I knew like I needed to learn how to do sales if I was going to go run my own company. But to your point, like the psychology of talking to people and learning how to talk to people and comfortable, it's such a powerful thing, especially to introverts like us. Yeah. Yes, audience, I'm also an introvert too. Um,
Shocker.
I want to go back to something really interesting as we kind of dive in here because I think this could tie the two together. What you were building was kind of one to many, right? Like we couldn't there wasn't enough time in the day to talk to all of these people, or it wasn't worth it because you're talking about deals that are $200, $300 a month and you need to chase bigger ones. Um, I wonder how you would solve that problem today with agents, right? Like AI and agents. Like it seems like that problem would be so much easier to solve and would be solved completely different now than
Totally.
the way you solved it 15 years ago with how do we get all these people on webinars and kind of train them at scale versus like you can get a lot more of that customized one-on-one handoff as long as they know and are okay knowing that they're talking to an agent. And if it goes beyond that, they have a mechanism to raise their hand and get
Yeah,
bigger help,
actually,
right?
I would do it totally differently now, for sure. I think you have these conversational agents now, and I think, we're moving beyond the text to the voice interactions, and it's a little bit magical. And I think that, there's kind of this uncanny valley that we have to go through to get comfortable with it. And I think that, you know, as long as you're transparent that this is an agent, you're not trying to fool people that it's a person. Um, there's absolutely a huge opportunity for to bring that kind of personal journey that is really valuable in having a human talk with a prospect one on one and kind of unlock. And I think we're there right now in technology. I think you can build something that is very useful in helping a customer kind of answer their questions, overcome objections, and be kind of like a BDR, right? And then maybe you pass it off, follow up to have a human in the loop on that. But yeah, it's really an exciting time. I mean, and one of the things that I've talked to in my day job at Team Gantt is, we're moving heavily into the construction market, and they really like to talk to someone. And so one of the things that I'm interested in trying there is, can you imagine, right? You come to a website, and we know like all of these old paradigms of how people interact on the computer are completely changing, right? So whether it's UI or a website, we're going from somebody having to click around and browse. I think the future is going to be you go to a website, and sure, you still have some of these other pages if someone prefers to click around and browse. But then right there on the website, you have smack dab in the middle, you have an advisor. And it's just like, hey, do you want to find out if this is the right tool for you? Like chat with one of our agents and they'll help you figure out really quickly, and the goal should be just as quickly as possible, helping that person figure out, is this something I should spend my time trying or not? Right. And it opens up a voice agent and you ask it questions and it answers, using, we have established best practices in how to qualify. Yeah, it's pretty
That's
cool.
that's interesting because that's like a natural evolution because we've seen chatbots on websites for years now, especially business websites.
Yeah,
But to your point, right? Like now the technology's got good enough where you can have a conversation with an AI, and if the knowledge base that the LLM's pulling from is clean enough and good enough, right? Like it can answer majority of your questions. And then once you're ready to kind of make that final decision, sure, put a human in the loop at that point. But yeah, like, all right, somebody out there, go build an AI chatbot that like pulls from knowledge base and lets you completely talk to it instead of like chatting with it. I'm
absolutely.
sure that's started to come to exist. I know it is in some other things like call centers and stuff, but go ahead and build one for people's websites.
Yeah, definitely a huge opportunity. Yeah, for sure. If I had more time, I'd do it myself.
So let's talk about that, right? Like, because you have built what I think a dozen ish agents on Agent AI. You probably got a whole bunch more in the background, but you're doing much more now. Have you ever coded in your life? Because now you're doing a lot of stuff with like Cursor and all, right?
Yeah, yeah. So I kind of started my curiosity, obviously, kind of being that inventor archetype, the new shiny object on the scene. It really started for me in GPT 3.5, and just getting in there and playing with it and like kind of trying to see like, what is this thing about? How does it work? And I quickly realized, and this was way before vibe coding was a thing. Being a product guy, I've always had a ton of ideas, and I've tried learning to code, and there's just something There's just something that didn't click for me. Like I understood the base concepts, and I think you have a similar story as well, like being having a little bit of history as a developer, but there were certain aspects. I think it had to do with memorization, um, and and stuff like that it just kind of felt tedious to me. But I understood the underlying concepts enough where I was like, hey, this thing could probably like write the actual code for me. And so I vibe coded along with a friend who was a developer, but I did the entire front end, a mobile app in my free time, and we got a few paying customers on it. It was called Happy Coach, but we ended up decommissioning it. But it was a huge eye opener for me that I was able to do it. I was able to code an entire React Native front end, and it worked great. And yeah, and so it's only gotten better from there. Back then it was all copy paste, and now we have tools. We have tools like Lovable, like Cursor, like Bolt.new, and uh, it's just even easier now than it was then. And yeah, I guess you could say like I I'm also submitting code now for Team Gantt. I talked about how the evolution of the product manager is going to become. I feel like both the developers and the product managers are going to be able to do more of each other's job, and so there's going to be a little bit more of an overlap there. And I think product managers now can do a lot in the tool, and so I ship code for the onboarding, and that really has opened up the developers to be able to focus on the core product. And now the product team can really own the onboarding, which is huge. Most recently, there was a hackathon, the Bolt.new hackathon, which I think they're going to break a Guinness World Record for the largest hackathon. And I was like, you know what? I want to, I was trying at the time, I was trying to spend more time with my kids and less time on side projects. But I was like, this is a great opportunity to actually like bring my kids into this. And so we brainstormed an idea for the hackathon, and we came up with a mobile app idea. We live in New Hampshire. My kids, they can name more plant variations than they can, shopping brands or whatever. So it's like we're very outdoors here, and we came up with an idea for a plant identification app, which there's plenty of those out there, but more gamified. And so that became Lifari, and it's kind of like Pokemon Go meets, I guess, Duolingo, because the goal there is to turn more. It's not just for kids, everyone. Just help turn more people into ecologists and naturalists, and not only identify plants, but piece together this interesting puzzle of ecology and how every plant has a role, and collect badges and gain points and go up leaderboards. So that was really fun because my kids came up with all the features. They were the product managers.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I'll have to drop a link to that video because that it's a really cool video. Because you're right, it literally is Pokemon for nature.
Yeah.
Where you go take a picture of a plant and it tells you all about the plant and gives you points and badges and stuff towards accomplishments. So it's gamified like learning, which is in a really cool way.
Yeah. It's been that's kind of where I've been focusing on, is just kind of like this new unlock of being able to build things as a product manager, which it's a lot of fun. And really kind of moving also more into uh, building agents, obviously through Agent AI and through other things as well, has been really fun. So
Let's talk about that because, like, I've played with a bunch of your agents, and I think what's interesting is most people that I talk to here are like subject matter experts on one thing, and all their agents are kind of around that one thing. Where yours kind of cover a gambit, right? Like, and I will admit, I had been a big fan of some of your podcast agents because they're super helpful for me. In fact, there's probably a couple bad jokes I could toss into this episode that I, pulled for this episode, preparing for it. But we'll save the audience of that. But then you've got audiences about sales calls and conversations there, and newsletter setup, and how to do better writing like a human. So it really is kind of all across the board. There's a conference find me similar conferences app or agent. So it's much more eccentric than typically what I usually see, but like I like it sounds and feels like that all stems from your curiosity just, "Hey, I wanna go try this thing. What can I stand up? What can I learn about this?" As much as it
Yeah.
is, like, you probably have a large variety of interests too.
Yeah, it all stems from, like, I kinda just always have this urge to be a beginner. I think, like, it's a curiosity thing. It's also, some of these things I do have, because like you, right? I have a pretty varied background. I'm a generalist, like, I'm a T-shaped generalist, So, I really enjoy actually getting into things that I don't know a lot about because for me, I think, constant learning is really important. Actually, like if I'm not learning something new constantly, if I'm not in that beginner's mindset, I actually like am not happy. So, yeah, I really enjoy actually tackling things that I initially don't know a lot about. I have to go out and learn a little bit about that thing to build an effective agent. I think that like somebody that was really good at building agents and had really deep expertise in that, it would be really great to work with someone. It could probably even make it even better. But I think I can get to the point where it's useful for most people, um, just through me learning about it and kind of injecting those best practices into the agent. So it's actually really fun to build across varied domains for me.
So shout out to the community, all the builders out there listening. If you're a deep subject matter expert in any of the apps that kind of Tim's built and want to take it deeper, you got a product person to work with you on it. So
Absolutely. Yeah. Definitely reach out.
let me ask you this, because something that I've thought a lot about, kind of a little off script here, but to your generalist comment, with the age of AI coming and its low PhD level intelligence on all these varied subjects, I almost feel like we're entering an age where specialization is kind of going away. And let me unpack what I mean by that a little bit. Like, we'll stay in kind of the digital marketing world, right? Like 20 years ago, SEO was not a job. Now that you have people that specialize and are subject matter experts, you got email marketing experts, right? But as you see AI kind of come into play, I wonder if we're going to get back more into generalists because an agent can handle the very specialized niche skills to solve this thing that required like deep awareness by humans. And now we're going to get into a phase where the generalists are going to start thriving because yeah, they get enough deep knowledge to be able to know what's right and wrong, and they're able to think cross domain about how to bring them together. And then the agents
Yeah.
can go deep into that. I'm curious, react to that or tell me what you think to that.
Yeah, I think it's interesting because you nailed what I think a generalist brings to the table. So I think a generalist brain is actually a specialist brain. It's a
Oh,
specialist brain in cross-domain thinking. Historically, I think it's been I don't want to say they've been undervalued. I think HubSpot was really good at valuing people. They called them T-shape individuals. So they did have deep expertise in one area, and that's how HubSpot hired is they tried to look for T-shaped individuals who were kind of had a base of generalists and then had one area where the kind of skill level went a little bit higher. And I think that's actually like it's really valuable in the age of AI, because even though AI is good at cross-domain thinking, it's not yet really good at self-directing that cross-domain thinking. And so I think why people are saying that this is the era of the generalist is because what we bring to the table is kind of that initial kind of piecing the puzzle together of these different things and then kind of ideating what's possible now with agents because we're in especially right now this phase we're in and this might change by the way like I'm fully aware that we are maybe in the phase where the generalists thrive, but I don't know it'll always be that way. I hope it will. But right now, it's like the people that can kind of, we're in this area where we're trying to feel out the space and we're trying to figure out like, what are the best ways to apply this new technology? And I think that that cross domain thinking comes in really handy during this phase where there are no playbooks, right? Like that's where we thrive. That's where the generalists thrive, where there are no playbooks and we're in an era of discovery. And it's really useful for that. That's what I've been thinking about as well.
interesting. Okay, maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
It's just like
Yeah.
it
Maybe.
just talk to me a little bit more like what are your plan? What have you learned from building agents, right? Like you've built a whole bunch of them, you've built some products with AI. Like what are the what is the lessons that you've learned from that? Or like what is the big takeaways that you want to share with others?
I think the biggest takeaway is it's moving so fast that I think it's important that people don't wait to kind of, and I think we're getting to the point now. I think when we last spoke, there were more people on the sidelines. And well, how long ago was that? That was maybe like a few months ago.
3 or 4 months. Yeah.
Yeah, and like already, I think like if you look at your LinkedIn feed, mine at least is like mostly about AI, and it wasn't that case 3 4 months ago. So this is just a testament to how fast this space is moving and how fast this adoption curve is happening. Like usually I'm early to a trend and I'm like a couple years ahead, and now it's like I was early to this trend and it's been you know only like a couple months and people are already kind of catching on to it. But I think that like it is still a huge cognitive overload to try to stay up to date on the latest of how things are
Mm.
evolving. And I think that if you're trying to build in this space, like I think my biggest message is that like we're all feeling it. Um, remember to go outside and and touch grass. Um, and don't feel bad if you feel like you're behind. I think we all feel like we're behind, honestly. Like even the people that are, unless you're actually building the models themselves, um, things just move so fast. And I think that just continue to stay curious, continue to dabble. Don't feel like you're falling behind. Use tools like Agent AI. They make it really easy to build, workflow based agents that make your day to day job easier, or use existing agents that someone has already built. And yeah, I think we're just in the age where it's like stay curious, um, keep tinkering, and those two things alone will put you ahead of most people, um, if you continue doing those things. And I think that like we're in an era where that's important. Like nobody really like I said before, like nobody really has the playbook yet. We're still kind of discovering it, and it's we see it. It's really at first it was in development is kind of the first area that really exploded for AI, is helping developers, and also in like go to market and marketing specifically. We're seeing a lot of challenges with how the playbook is changing now, and everyone's kind of scrambling to figure out like what is the new playbook. And it's actually, to me, that's an exciting time, right? So um, being a part of that and kind of just experimenting is super important. So when you're building agents, just have fun with it. Approach it like play, like experiment. I know that I watched a podcast with John Marcus, and I have a similar situation where I have a graveyard of agents, and I totally agree with John Marcus on that. Like I don't know what's possible, so I play around a lot, and a lot of those end in a dead end. But that's okay. Like
Yeah.
you're feeling for the edges of what's possible right now.
I want to ask you something I've started to feel, and I've had, inside conversation with people about to the whole everything's going faster. I mean, I think the last data point I saw was like all of this knowledge is doubling. The power of these models are getting faster, doubling in intelligence, IQ, whatever, every 6 months, which is like 3 times faster than Moore's Law ever was, right? Because Moore's Law was about 18 months. But it also feels like the inverse of that is if we're looking at AI in an S curve, like we're starting to hit where it's not continuing to go up at exponential. It seems like it's starting to linear out a little bit, but I don't know if that just because none of us can keep up with it anymore, like we've hit like peak cognitive ability to just keep up with the fast rate of everything, or like it's not seeing the exponential growth. Like, okay, it's good enough now to do 95% of things. Yes, it's hallucinating, but it's hallucinating a little bit less and less and less over time. And maybe it is starting to slow down, or maybe we just can't keep up, and they're not sharing all the new breakthroughs, or it's a conspiracy theory. Maybe it hit some wall that they're trying to like lock it back in or something. I don't know. But like, what do you think about all that? Because it does seem like it's slowing down a little bit, at least the last few months, or maybe I'm just not trying to keep up with all the revolutionary
No,
stuff that's coming on anymore.
no, it is. It's definitely slowing down, and I think that's a good thing. I don't
Yeah.
really know. I have a theory on why it is. I think it has to do with kind of hitting a little bit of a hardware limit and a point of diminishing returns in terms of to make that next big leap, we need exponentially more power in hardware. Um, Given the current the current architecture of how LLMs work. I think the next big breakthrough will either happen in hardware or changing a little bit of direction in terms of the architecture of an LLM and how it works. But I think in the time being, we're kind of in that. I think, yeah, totally. We've hit kind of that flat point of the S curve where things are slowing down. But I think that's a good thing. It allows us all to catch up a little bit,
Yeah, yeah,
which is nice. A little reprieve. And yeah, I think that like I'm of the opinion, and I'm no expert. This is just more an intuitive thing that there's a lot of people out there that think that eventually like AI will get to the point where it doesn't need us and it completely surpasses us, and at that point we just hang on to the coattails of AI. I'm skeptical of that vision of where AI is going to go. I think that I've said this before, and that like I think that human in the loop will always be valuable in AI. And I think that the people, especially now, the people that win with AI are the people who they bring something to the table. They're not just completely relying on AI to replace their workflow. They are partnering with AI, and using AI for what it's good at and understanding what it's not great at. Um, like a perfect example is writing blog posts or LinkedIn posts, right? Like if you try to completely automate that to an agent and just have it pump it out for you, like people can tell. Um, and if as opposed to if you bring something to the table, like, hey, I want to talk about these things. Here's my thoughts, and just it's really nice because you can just
here's my
brain
outline.
dump. Yeah, you just brain dump. It doesn't have to be structured. It can be completely rambling. And what AI can do is it can extract from that and structure it and make it more presentable. And that approach, whether it's LinkedIn posts, blog posts, content, video content, scripts, whatever, code, architecture, everything. That approach, I think, will win, and I think it will continue to win. Actually, we'll see. I could be proven wrong, but right now, like that's where I'm kind of putting my bets. Um, and so
Well,
I think that's why it's important to kind of continue to learn how to use it.
and I've heard you say it before too that like you're very skeptical of AI replacing human creativity in general
Yeah,
because
yeah,
everything it's doing is just derivative of something it found somebody say or do or write somewhere in this giant, you know, billion terabytes or whatever of data that it's kind of consumed. It's got
yeah,
no original thoughts in there. It's just kind of like pulling whatever it can out and trying to string it together in a way that
yeah. I
sounds
think
logically good.
it gets a little bit esoteric, right? It's more of an intuitive thing, but like I think the fact that we don't 100% understand how human creativity works, I think that we're very clever, and so we can create something that might approximate human creativity, but I still think that having humans in the loop will always have the slight edge
Yeah.
because I do think that there's something there that we don't completely understand. So that's just my personal belief. I hope that's true. Maybe it's a little bit of hope as well. I hope that we always have some level of usefulness in this new world.
Well, and when you think about kind of human in the loop, like, and what I'm hearing you say is like, this is all agentic stuff that you could set up, like build out these models. It's really good at, like you said, writing a blog post. Let me dump in unstructured data and kind of give it back to me in kind of this format that I'm looking for, or other tasks like that. And I think that's a really good kind of model where, yeah, we don't want humans out of the loop. I mean, if we just take ourselves completely out of the loop, like, what are we doing anymore? How do humans thrive if they're not like actually accomplishing things and meeting, goals and ambition?
Right.
What do we do anymore? What is our purpose? If you want to get real deep and
Yeah. There's a lot of
philosophical.
people having those conversations. I don't really spend too much time on that again because it's my personal belief that like this is an amazing tool. So like I like to say I'm both an enthusiast and a skeptic because I think this is an amazing tool. And I think that like a lot of this is not an uncommon thing for humans to do, right? Like when a new technology comes out to kind of like over um,
Right.
aggrandize.
Right. I mean, how many of those could we talk about in the last 20 years, right? Like, remember
Right,
the Internet of Things? Remember
right.
3D printing? Remember Web3? Blockchain? Like, all those things are things and they exist now, but like, when, companies were getting 2x their valuation just because they had the word blockchain in their
Exactly.
description.
So I'd be shocked if this was the exception rather than the rule. But like, yeah, I think that it's exciting. It's an amazing tool that can really move us to the next level. What I'm really excited for us is to move beyond. I call it kind of like the one shot the one shot era of AI where everyone's fascinated with this, like, enter a prompt and we'll just completely do this thing for you. And I'm really excited about moving beyond that, and we're already seeing it with some of these tools that are being built, to moving into the kind of the more workflow era of AI, where we take proven workflows that we know to work and we break them down so that anyone can do them. But rather than just saying like, hey, let's one shot this thing. No, let's go through the steps that we actually go through to make a really quality thing. Let's break it down into steps. Let's use AI in every step, and let's build iteratively to arrive at something that's like light years ahead of what you could one
Oh,
shot.
that sounds right there, your pro tip of anybody that's wanting to get into agent building, right? Like, what is your workflow? What is your process? And like literally sketch it all out in detail. Um,
Yeah.
build a lucid
That's
chart, whatever you need to like get it done, and then automate it.
Yeah, so my process for building agents always starts with, if I don't have domain expertise, learning like what are the best practices here? What are the most effective up-to-date workflows? And then breaking that down into a flow chart and then saying, okay, like where can I apply AI? And I think like also thinking about like, where is AI really most helpful? And I think we can over apply AI, right? But kind of mapping that out and then building that workflow into an agent. That's exactly kind of how I
Love it.
approach it.
Love it. So what's next? What's on the horizon? What are you working on now, or what do you got coming out that like people can get excited about, or you need help testers or users of?
Yeah, I think like I'm really excited to start building more AI stuff into my day job at Team Gantt. Really thinking about how agents can help the onboarding process. So think about right now where you go through an onboarding flow. It's kind of, you go through these steps. I talked about how like one thing I've been thinking about is how UI and how we interact with computers is going to completely change. But instead of going through these forms and selecting things and like, like inputting your project and trying to input each task into a project, can you imagine going through an onboarding where you get to talk with a consultant that says, hey, I'm going to help you build your first project. I'm going to build it with you. Like, what kind of project are you running? And you're like, oh, a construction project. Oh, awesome. Like, do you run it in phases? What do your phases usually look like? And then you say, oh, yeah, we usually do these phases. And then the consultant says, that's great. At Team Gantt, most users use those as groups, and all tasks live in groups. So I'll go ahead and create those groups for you. And like, you're kind of having this conversation. And then maybe in like 20 minutes, it's like, great, I've built the project, your first project for you. Um,
What do you
and
want me to
so that's
change? Yeah.
exactly. And so like kind of getting into building that into SaaS, I think is a I think eventually that might be everything in a UI, but I think a lot of us that are coming from a legacy SaaS product have to kind of baby step into that. So that's really exciting to start building those things. And then you know, on the side, which is where I do all my learning, because you can't, in your day job, you can't do all those things. I'm really excited about getting more into building autonomous agents. I have done a little bit of that, but using tools like Convex, shout out to Convex. They're like a database that I think is kind of building this AI native backend as a service. So it makes it super easy for you to build conversational agents, and build even autonomous agents. And it comes with a database, authentication, like kind of everything you need for the backend rolled in. So building more stuff with that, um, and also just getting Leafari into the App Store, the mobile app, which is really my passion. I think for me, like my guiding light in AI is I want to find ways to use AI to do things for good. You know, um, I think like I know some people that kind of like how social media started off as a good thing, and now there's a lot of problems associated with it. There's a lot of people that are worried about AI, or maybe they're hesitant to use AI because they're kind of like skeptical that it will be good for humanity, right? And so my thinking was, I can understand that point of view, but I want to get involved with AI to just do my little part, as small as it is, to try to build things that are helpful and useful, and like, bring value to people in real ways, like getting outside more, learning about the environment, learning about ecology, so that the more people that are knowledgeable about their local ecology, the more they care about their local ecology, and that's good for everyone. So like stuff like that, I'm really passionate about. Um, and so yeah, I'm really excited about getting Leafari out into the app store and getting more users on that. Um, and yeah, just continuing to experiment and build.
Well, I guess in kind of closing, Tim, like how could others in the community support help you? You know, how can they connect with you? What's the best way to connect? And yeah, like what kind of help are you looking
Yeah, I
for?
think right now, just I'm really looking to connect with more builders, people that are curious. If you ever need help with building an agent on Agent AI, I'm available. Maybe we can link my Agent AI profile down
Absolutely
to
will.
contact me through there. Um, and yeah, we can put more of my contact information in. But yeah, I really want to like collaborate with other curious people or help people that might be curious but just don't know where to start. So yeah, I'm totally here to collaborate, learn from other people, or help
Love
other
it.
people.
Love it. Awesome. Well, Tim, in last question, and I'll let you out of here. What did I not ask that you kind of want to leave everybody with? Any kind of final inspiration or thoughts that's kind of you're really thinking about right now or whatever? The platform's yours. Take us home.
Yeah, I think just to expand more on kind of what's driving me and my purpose in AI is like, I think if we're all just focusing instead of focusing on the potential negatives, we kind of talked about how people are talking about, you know, the more concerning parts about the potential future with AI. Um, if you're curious about it but you're hesitant, I think like if we're all just focusing on like how can we leverage this new amazing technology, this new tool in ways that really like help some of our biggest problems in society, or like just help people with mental health, or help people get out more, get outside more and engage with nature. I think like those are really rewarding things to work on. I mean, we all have our day jobs and things that make our day to day a little bit easier, and those are worth building as well. But I think that if you have anything outside of that, thinking about how you can use this new technology to do good in the world it's I think it's a worthwhile thing to look into for sure.
Love it. Love it. Well, everybody out there, I hope you go out and do some good in the world. And if you like this episode, please like, subscribe, share it. Help us spread the word out. We're doing lots of these conversations weekly now. And until then, to the next Builder Story, thanks for listening. Take care, everybody.